Welcome to another day of Ether Raids. We're taking on Nana this time, and we are going with, I didn't actually think I'd use this team with the Brave attacking Marissa support team here. As you can see, is mostly melee units. And, I don't, like I keep trying to figure out what the best configuration of this team is. Tana offers so much in terms of the mobility. I would love a way to not have her be debuffed at the start of every turn. She needs some way to cleanse her penalties because that really impacts her damage output, and it's kind of annoying. And also her just survivability overall, so that's kind of annoying because I use her as an initiator. So, and if everyone's going to be swapping from Hardy Shield Fighter to Rhea with her Dragon Roar, if everyone's going to go back to offensive specials instead of defensive specials on their near saves, then her survivability goes all the way down. Unless you're going to bring Layla to, undefended, attack someone else instead. Because Tana, when she's debuffed, doesn't, or just overall, isn't the tankiest. So attacking into, particularly this new Rhea, she dies. Rhea is doing 99 damage back to her. And with Dragon Roar on top of that, Tana typically dies. So not that great for her. I mean, you could compensate by running different specials, but then the whole point of using Tana is to have, on a Gale Force team, is to get the extra action. She's really good at doing that. So I mean, it is something to consider, changing the build to Pavis or something else. But I don't really see the point of doing that when her whole thing is going in and... But then also the secondary thing is to have everyone be able to warp around you. But if you can't take out the unit that has the warp denial, then what is the point? So I've kind of configured this team to kind of try to work around that. We're going to go with Crom here to copy the +1 movement that I have from the... even, or is it Odd Tempest Seal? So we're going to go on turn 1. And then Layla, I've chosen to inflict undefended on Lynn so that I can snipe her potentially. So what I'm going to do now is just figure out the course of action here in terms of who goes first and who goes after, so that I can pick off the units one by one and then take care of whatever is left. What's really annoying here is that Lorather has to be the one to go down first, at least, or somewhere in this, somewhere here I have to pick out Lorather because of the warp denial. Really annoying. But then after that, we can't leave Lynn or Celica around because of the range that they have. Both of them have to go. We can at least take care of Lynn because I've undefended her, so we can hit her from range. But then Celica is going to be a little bit tricky to get over there and take out Celica, and then also get out of the way because of Snake. I can't kill both of the armored units because then it means I'd have to leave Bernadetta or Felix behind. Those are not good choices. If you had a way, this is actually the worst. This is if you were just tanking this, you could probably tank it pretty easily. But because I'm doing this Gale Force play here, I gotta be very specific in terms of who I'm taking out, just so that I don't screw myself in terms of just making bad choices. The trade war is on here. We gotta make sure that we pick correctly. That aside, let me go back. I think I touched on a topic that I didn't really expound on too much. I just wanted to highlight some options and then make a quick video around them. The flyers, and what I was essentially saying, I don't know, maybe whatever, maybe no one really picked up on it, or maybe it got skipped over, but the flyers, I'm trying to summarize, or I'm trying to... I got time. I'm gonna make time. Essentially what I was saying is that there just aren't that many from your flyers, because they're so mobile, they're not hindered by any type of terrain. giving them guidance or a way to offer mobility support is very beneficial to your team compositions regardless of the game mode. So the fact that most flyers have C skills that are locked, or at least a lot of them have C skills that are locked to some type of preferential skill, is annoying, because that perf skill is usually a big part of their gimmick, their usability, why you're using them, you know? So to swap that out for like an echo skill doesn't really benefit you. Not an echo skill, a guidance skill doesn't really benefit you sometimes, because you've then neutered that flying unit. You've reduced them to something that is less than what they originally are, and typically you don't want to do that when you're messing around with units kits. You want to keep them at optimal performance, especially when you're trying to roll compress and get the most out of your team. Looking at SD more specifically for that comment. And then the rest of the flyers, and excluding the ones that have like B skills and A skills with their perf skills, which is really where, for flyers, I think their B skills and A skills are really where you want to be putting preferential skills, especially the A skill, because there aren't that many great A skills for flyers in general, unless you're going with Flared Sparrow. Really, the other ones are kind of just like whatever. But Flared Sparrow has some amount of versatility, situational usage. It'll benefit you on a flyer to have Flared Sparrow. I guess for AoE builds you could go life and death, virtue death, anything that ups your attack, but it's not like it's either, if you already have a high attack stat, you can easily outsource that AoE roll to someone else, so it's whatever. So I think B skill and A skills are really, unless they want to start introducing B skills that have like preferential warps for flyers, maybe that's the direction to head in, or just put more preferential warps into the perf C skills that they're giving them, since the competition between guidance and perf skills in the C slot is very high. It's like neck and neck when it comes to flyers. But then again, flyers are really the only one who can get that. I really prefer guidance 4 in comparison to soaring guidance, and I think IS has been deliberate in their release of skills as to not put out the one that the guidance 4 version, or the guidance 4 echo skill that will allow the freeing up of that specific slot. They're being selective or mean to armored units in that way, because armored units are really the ones that you want to be moving, or really the ones that you want to have increased movement on, or mobility, since they're limited to 1 movements in the majority of cases. They're really the beneficiaries of that. So to have the extra range for flyers themselves, it's not the greatest thing for you, because flyers can already get so far, and they're not really hindered by movements, and there's so many other things that can aid a flyer in terms of making them mobile. Looking at something like charge, for instance, where armored units have way less in that department. Kind of getting a bad situation here with Crom. We're gonna have to hope that Marissa doesn't kill Neathhogger here, which I'm pretty sure, because Marissa typically has low damage output, especially since I'm running Gale Force. I don't think she'll get the kill, but we're gonna have to depend on Marissa here to trigger her Gale Force and then potentially save Crom. And also I'm hoping that this trap isn't real. I don't think it is, because if it is, then Marissa might get the KO. So this is a big gamble, but we got to do it, since I've messed this up completely. So many times I've messed this up. I should have really initiated with Crown before I initiated with Tana. So that was a huge mistake, but we just got to keep going at this point. Anyways, yeah, for flyers, I don't know. A skill and B skill, that's really where they want to get the perf skills. If they go that route, then I won't have any more complaints about it. But currently the flyers that are in the game, they're just not that great. I mean, a lot of them have the free C skills, free C slot, where you can put stuff and it'll not be a problem. And that's great for the guidance portion of it. But then when it comes now to them offering anything else, a lot of them just fail in the combat departments because they just don't do enough damage and they're not bulky enough to live a hit, which is why Hearthvulgar is just so good damage-wise. And also she can survive, so that's another take for her in terms of that box.
Stay alert.
And then if you're not killing anything and you're not surviving, then what is your purpose of the team? Support. So if your only support is mobility, that's not great for role compression. There has to be something else that you're capable of doing. And they've been putting out, well, I think they've been focusing lately on changing that, but the flyers up until now that they've put out just don't offer that much. Like, I was like going over the weapons and just looking at what the weapons offered. A lot of them are sabotage, a lot of them are discord, and that's pretty much like, you don't need 10 flyers that do all of them do the same thing, which is why I was so interested with legendary Gremlins Refine. Eitri. I was so interested in her Refine because it had Schism, and that's something that we haven't really seen before, but they didn't really give her enough to make her prominent in the meta, so that's kind of unfortunate. But just looking at the rest of them, they have like the Mia and Harmonic Anna situation where they're just pretty much carbon copies of each other, just different years in terms of when they came out, and they basically do the same thing in terms of what their weapon is offering, and it's just combat, and that falls off pretty quickly in the game. Especially when Shield Fighter is now a thing, like so prominent, they just don't do enough to get through that, and they don't, like, the tanks that we have are just way stronger than both of them, so it's not really offering me very much in terms of support. I'd really like a flyer that can give me at least Kanto. Like, I feel like at this point they need at least Kanto support in their weapon for them to be a benefit to the team. Flyers. Kanto 1 as a drive, or Kanto 1 as a support effect, a visible buff, something like that, so that they can have more value. They need, that's why I was saying that they need more debuffs in the game, because there just aren't enough. I think at some point we're going to see Anathema on the flyer, and that's when we're really going to be kicking. But GG's. Welcome to another day of Ether Raids. We are taking on Whole Inc. here, and we're gonna go again. We're still in the dark side. This is the dark timeline, and we're doing the Lin thing. It's happening. I don't know what to say, man. It's happening. That aside, SDS has started today. Don't think I'm actually ready to play. Unfortunately, I realized that I only have 3 teams instead of 4, because the 4th team that I thought I was going to be using, turns out it doesn't work, so I gotta scrap it. I found out in practice while I was just testing it to see how it would, the movement just fell off. It's the same problem that I have every time I run a catcher ball or some variation of it. The Catria of it all, she just keeps getting stuck, so not a lot of mobility there. So I had, without, like, they really need at least 2 of them, because Thea has Kanto 2 or Kanto in her weapon already, but the other 2, Cordelia and Catria, they both need Kanto in their Refine. All right. It's not worth it to run it in their B slot. It's just not worth it. So they definitely need Kanto in their weapon Refine whenever that does happen in the future. So yeah, had to scrap that. And also I just realized that the units that I was using Calm and Bridget on the team. But there's, as you would imagine, there just isn't a lot of mobility there, because there's only 2 movement on both of those units, and the majority of the team was just 2 movement all around. So it wasn't the most aggressive team. It really was just sitting back and waiting on the opponent to attack, and I did not like that. So I couldn't move. I kept getting stuck. So I've since scrapped that team, and I've built something that's kind of working with Bernadetta, but then also I don't really like Paranoia. I'm realizing that the conditions for Paranoia to activate are a bit too stringent.
emblem guide
I
you.
was really hoping for it to be like a Vantage thing, so primarily to not have to deal with Sigurd, because he would hit the AoE and then, a Leer or whatever Omni tank I'm using could then, break his face in. But unfortunately, that has not been happening with the consistency that I would like, because debuffs. You need three debuffs to get it to work, and I just can't get it. Like I said, everyone has Sabotage and Discord, or Discord and Exposure. There's just no where do you get that other debuff from? It is really annoying. So I don't know. I might give up on this team. It's just not going in the direction that I would have liked it to go. I mean, Ather is great. Don't get me wrong. Ather is great, but I just can't find the right team to fit around him, and it's really just a pain. But that's where I am currently with. I think I have 3 teams. I'm pretty confident in the other 3. But this Ather team, it struggles. I'm struggling to find 3 units to pair him with that aren't all from the same game, because you don't realize, or I don't know, maybe everyone else does, but when you're doing SD or SDS, you kind of realize the games that have a roster. And my god, the heroes roster is very good. There are so many great units from Faye, Jimbro, Thor, all of the Thors really, Hearthfelger, all of the healing hands, a lot of mythics going back, Dagger. There's just so many units from Faye, from heroes, that are just like goated, like so good. So I'm just trying to build a team without building a full heroes team, and it's really hard because the other games are lacking in terms of just firepower, or just like what they offer, and lacking, or I've already used the units that are good on other teams. So that's really the problem that I'm facing right now, finding someone to pair with a Leer to get the full effect out of his weapon, because you really want to get the full 15 true damage, and you need 3 units, I think, to get that. So yeah, and plus when you're using Neathauger as opposed to Hector, it's tricky, man. It's a work in progress, but I'm gonna go back into the lab, cook up, see what we can get going, and then let's see what happens, man. GG, see you in the next one.